Welcome back. So I skipped Friday. Oh well. Friday was a hell of a day. It was a long day, and it ended as a really emotionally draining day. I woke up later than I should have. I had work at 8:30 in the morning, and I woke up with only about 20 minutes to get there. Quickly as I could, got out the door, went to work, and I wasn't off work until around 9 o'clock at night. And somewhere in there, I thought to myself, I could make a short video, something like that time that I lost my footage and put together something small. But I figured, cut my losses. Maybe I'd do another one over the weekend. Maybe I'd just come back to it on Monday. And it wouldn't be that big of a deal, which I think was the good thing to do. Kind of gave me that moment to relax. But going to bed Friday night, I didn't have a video to work on, which was fine. And I watched some TV, watched maybe a movie, I don't quite remember, and couldn't fall asleep. And I rolled around for a while, I turned everything off, rolled around for a little bit more, got up, took a shower, listened to some podcasts, I laid back down, tried to go back to sleep, couldn't go back to sleep. So between 10 o'clock and 3 o'clock, it was just me trying desperately to go to sleep because I couldn't turn my brain off. My mind was racing about all kinds of stuff, but primarily just the idea that life can go in any direction, and if you're not guiding it, what are you doing? Which I don't think is even fair to that entire crisis that night, because it was less about thinking I need to be guiding my life and more thinking that I'm failing at doing it constantly. No matter what decision I make, I would say, okay, let's do this and follow that path. And I would end up panicking that that path wasn't a different path. So I would follow the different path of thinking and wind up at the end of that trail and go, but that's not the other path. And it was basically a crisis of conscience in a way, of worrying about the fact that I won't be able to do and experience everything in life. And I think everybody goes through small moments of this throughout their life, and life ends up being about finding what does make you happy and what does excite you and just kind of doing it in the moment. Letting that moment be happy because of a thing you did, instead of doing a thing that makes you happy and complaining that you didn't get to do everything else. Which isn't necessarily how I always live my life. It was just in that moment, during that panic, that's what it felt like, was that I don't do anything else. I don't do anything I want to do, which isn't the case at all. And sometimes it takes some serious thought to dig yourself out of that hole, that thinking hole. Sometimes you can't do that. And after hours and hours of trying, what I wound up doing was putting in a podcast, full blast, headphones in, and just laying down with my eyes closed. And sooner or later, I got distracted enough to just fall asleep because my brain was able to focus on the podcast. And I realized that the best way out of those panicky crises is just distraction with something that makes you happy. Just distraction in general. I think about any moments in my life where I've been the saddest I've been, or the most depressed I've been, or the most scared I've been. And most of the time, it's when I was pretty idle. I wasn't doing anything. So when I think about people working hard towards something that I don't necessarily appreciate as a goal for my life, I realized that for them, it's that distraction, it's that pursuit that keeps you interested and happy. Now, I don't think that not doing the video on Friday was the cause of it at all. I think it was just a snowball effect of a lot of stuff in life that kind of sent me down that spiral. But I did realize that doing these videos, at least on my own terms, leads to a daily feeling of accomplishment or fulfillment. I may not see a career at the end of the line of making these videos, but every day I feel good about it, which is as good a reason as any to keep going. So Saturday, while I wasn't able to completely pull myself out of that thought process, I was able to think forward a little bit about how to keep going with things that do make me happy. Now, the style of these videos might change a little bit, and I realize that's okay. There's not like a formula I have to stick to, but I started thinking more and more about, instead of just recording myself talking on a walk and having it be just like a little video diary every morning, what if I actually got to show the things that I'm talking about in a certain way? And the thought of a daily vlog of something like that is exhausting, absolutely exhausting. One of the nice things about doing this is that I can record for a half hour, 45 minutes in the morning, and then be done until I pick up my computer. So I thought about maybe weekly or monthly or just some random schedule of videos that kind of record the things in my life I want to remember, the cool stuff. I don't necessarily want to be that guy that has a camera out constantly, because I feel like that is a way to quickly pull yourself out of being present. But I think sometimes you can capture a moment and then still have that moment. Basically just not having the camera out all the time. Yesterday, on Sunday, I went to this art pop-up in San Diego with my girlfriend called Wonder Spaces. And it had a dozen or so art exhibitions and 3 virtual reality films. And they were all amazing. Every single one of them was something that blew me away. And most of them were interactive too, which I think leads to leaving a bigger impression on you sometimes. And we took a ton of pictures and a few videos. And I put a bunch of them up on my Instagram, and I can look at them now as these really fond memories. But the memory of that place also isn't just me with my camera out. I didn't have to hold the camera up and talk to it and be like, and this is this, and this is this, and look what I'm doing. It was just small moments of capturing exactly what was happening and then continuing to be present in it. And for doing something that makes me happy and something that I can look back on later in life, that was exciting. Because I didn't have to worry about making my life something to be entertaining for an audience. There's definitely in me the thought that I want to create for an audience, that I want to create an emotion within other people, that I want to elicit a reaction within other people through art. But I don't want my life to always be that art. That was a pretty big revelation, because I think if I ever stray down that path of thinking that everything in my life has to be that art, then I wind up not feeling happy or fulfilled or excited by the little things, because I start to think that they're not grand enough to be presented to the world. Which is a dangerous thought process, because no one's life is grand enough all the time. There are a lot of people that curate their life really well in the way they present it to the public, and those curations are what drive that negative thought process of thinking your life has to be a constant stream of amazing events, when it's not. But that's okay, because that's where the beauty lies, is that the spectrum of emotional reaction is everywhere in your life. That you can be sad at something, mad at something, horrified at something, scared of something, worried about something, and that's what makes you human, because it's one of the few things that everyone on the planet shares. I think that satiation is inevitable, no matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter what it is. And the pursuit of leisure and relaxation and pure joy and happiness is a dangerous goal, because at a certain point, you're not gonna be those things 100% of the time. Or you will learn to pursue them in one way that does achieve that for you, and you repeat it over and over. And one day, it stops giving you that same feeling because of diminishing returns. And an oddly comforting thought is the idea that the people who you imagine to be the happiest in the world are happy for a while, and then sit back alone and think to themselves, fuck, I'm not that happy anymore. What do I have to do to get happy? And I think the perfect answer to what do I have to do to get happy is be something else for a while. because the change in that emotion, being really scared or being really sad, drives you to new experience. Sometimes that's depression, sometimes that's laying in bed and doing nothing, which again, hopefully drives you to new experience, or drives you to the pursuit of getting out of it. And usually that pursuit of getting out of it isn't repeating the old things that made you happy, it's finding the new thing. Sometimes that can be going for a walk in the morning. Sometimes that can be getting a pet. Sometimes that's going to therapy. All of these things are okay because they're changing your experience. And the new experiences are what makes you get happy. So today, I'm just taking deep breaths and I'm enjoying the fact that I'm here right now. I'm not crazy happy right now. I'm not really that sad either. I'm actually fairly content, which isn't bad. It's a nice feeling to be in, especially after going through a bout of being really sad and worried, especially worried. Feeling content is safe. And I think that's where I needed to be after being sad, because being sad and worried led me to take a few steps of critical thinking in my life, or towards my life, or of my life, that I think beforehand maybe I was embarrassed to start thinking about. Not always. I mean, I'm sure I've gone down this path of thinking before, but just in the last few days, being that sad, being that worried, being that freaked out was something I needed. And accepting that and embracing that is an awesome feeling, because I'm not worried about how terrifying that night was and how terrifying and empty Saturday felt because of it. I feel like I took a good step, that it was necessary, and that I look back fondly, even though it's only been a couple days, I look back fondly on that time that I was really sad, because I'm moving forward now. And it was thanks to that night. I got ideas brewing again. I'm writing stuff down again. Making a new video again. I'm doing instead of just thinking. And that's cool. I know some of the stuff I talked about might have been vague or repetitive. It's because I didn't really think too hard about what I was going to come out here and talk about. In fact, when I walked out my front door, I thought Thursday I said I would talk about positive Comic-Con stories. So we should probably talk about that. But instead I got on this rant of explaining myself for missing a video on Friday, which turned into what happened Friday, which turned into talking about that thought process. And next thing you know, I'm over 20 minutes into recording, and it's all I really talked about, which is probably a good sign of that being what I needed to talk about. I'm glad I did it. To avoid this video being feature length, I'll probably save some more Comic-Con stories for tomorrow, sometime in the future. I did end up going to Comic-Con on Friday. I didn't get a ticket, I didn't go inside the convention center, but one of the kids that I've been working with for like 5 years has heard about me going, seen pictures of me going for the last 5 years, and has really wanted to experience it, wanted to see it. And while I couldn't get him in to see everything, we did go to downtown San Diego and explore all the stuff that's taking place outside of the convention center, which is a lot. There's a lot of stuff. And he was really happy. That made him really excited. So I did have some positivity to come out of this year's Comic-Con, I guess. This is an interesting looking fire hydrant. I've never seen one like this before. Look at that. Just a weird thing. So I think that's probably good for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow with something else. Who knows? All right.